It was a July afternoon. The kind where the sun sits heavy on your shoulders and the smell of charcoal drifts through the whole neighborhood. My parents' backyard was full of family. Lawn chairs, paper plates, the sound of kids laughing. It should have been a perfect day. My brother Marcus was at the grill. And I mean at the grill the way a king is at his throne. Flipping burgers with that big dramatic flair he always had, while his wife Jennifer circled him with her phone, capturing every moment for social media like she was filming a cooking show. Their twin boys were running around in designer sneakers that probably cost more than my entire grocery budget for the month. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I was standing nearby with my son Daniel. He was 7 years old that day. 7 years old, hungry, and completely unaware that the next few minutes were going to stay with him for a very long time. He tugged on my sleeve. "Mom, can I have a burger? I'm really hungry." I smiled down at him. Of course he could. We walked over to the grill together, and Daniel, being the polite little boy he is, looked up at his uncle and said, "Uncle Marcus, can I please have a burger?" What happened next? I still think about it. Marcus looked down at my son, then at me, then back at Daniel, and his expression shifted into something I had seen too many times before on his face. That particular mix of pity and contempt that he never even tried to hide. Then he spoke. Loudly. Loud enough for everyone nearby to hear every single word. "Those are only for kids with a future," he said. "Kids whose parents can actually provide for them." The backyard went quiet. My dad looked uncomfortable but said nothing. My mom suddenly became very interested in the potato salad. My cousin Trevor just shook his head and walked away. And Jennifer, Marcus's wife, laughed. That high-pitched giggle she always used whenever Marcus said something he shouldn't have. And then, as if the moment needed more people piling on, Aunt Patricia set down her wine glass with this deliberate little click and nodded from her lawn chair. "Marcus has a point, dear. You really should be thinking about Daniel's future. When are you going to get serious about your career?" Uncle Robert came over from the drinks table with that smirk of his and started talking about investment opportunities his accountant had mentioned. Real wealth-building strategies. "Maybe if I'd made better choices earlier in life," he said, "I could actually give Daniel what he needs." And Marcus just kept flipping burgers, enjoying every second of it. I felt Daniel's hand tighten in mine. He was trying so hard not to cry. My 7-year-old son was standing there learning what it felt like to be looked down on. Not by strangers. By his own family. I took the paper plate gently from Daniel's hand and set it on the table. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home." "But I'm hungry," he whispered. "I know. We'll get something on the way." As we walked toward the gate, I heard Marcus call out behind us. "Don't forget the family investment meeting next week." "Oh wait, that's only for people who actually contribute to the family business." More laughter. I kept walking, my hand on my son's shoulder, one foot in front of the other, all the way to the car. In the car, Daniel finally let the tears fall. He'd been holding them in so bravely. "Why doesn't Uncle Marcus like us?" "It's complicated, honey." "Is it because we don't have a big house like his?" I gripped the steering wheel and took a slow breath. "Uncle Marcus doesn't understand everything about our life. And that's okay." We stopped at a diner on the way home. One of those classic chrome and vinyl places that serves breakfast all day, the kind where the booths are a little worn and the coffee never stops coming. Daniel ordered a burger and fries with extra pickles. And I sat across from him, watching him eat, thinking about the last 5 years of my life. About the choices I had made that my family had written off as failures. About the late nights they knew nothing about. The conference calls at midnight with Tokyo and London. The negotiations. The boardrooms. The acquisitions. All of it happening quietly, invisibly, while they stood at barbecues and talked about how I wasn't doing enough. Daniel wiped ketchup from his chin and looked up at me. "This is a really good burger, Mom." "Better than Uncle Marcus's would have been?" He grinned. "Way better." That smile. That one smile made everything worth it. That night, after Daniel was asleep, I sat in my small living room with a cup of tea. The apartment was quiet. Humble. Nothing impressive by my family's standards. But it was ours, and it was exactly what we needed it to be. At 11:55, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Just so we're clear, you disrespected me today, walking out like that in front of everyone. Remember who guaranteed your business loan when you were trying to start that consulting thing 5 years ago? Remember who believed in you when nobody else did? You owe me some respect. I read it twice. Then I set the phone down and opened my laptop. That consulting thing. That's what he called it. 5 years ago, I had gone to Marcus because I needed help starting my financial consulting business. I went to him because he was my older brother, and I had always looked up to him. He laughed in my face. You, a consultant? You barely graduated college. Who's going to take financial advice from you? When I applied for the small business loan, the bank required a guarantor. Marcus eventually agreed, but only after making me beg. Only after holding it over my head in a way I would come to understand very well over the years that followed. He signed those papers completely convinced I would fail within a year. Convinced he would never actually have to pay a single cent. What Marcus did not know was what happened 6 months after he signed them. I opened the files I had been reviewing earlier that evening. Bank documents, transfer papers, ownership records. And I began to type my response. Marcus, I appreciate you bringing up the loan guarantee. I've been meaning to discuss that with you. I'm attaching the bank ownership transfer documents. As of 14 months ago, I own First National Bank. The same bank that holds your business loans for all 3 auto shops. The same bank that guaranteed your expansion. I hit send and attached the documents. Then I sent a second message. Also attached, the loan default notice that will be sent to you tomorrow morning. You're 3 days late on your payment for the 3rd shop. The grace period ended today. As the new owner, I've implemented stricter policies. My phone rang immediately. I didn't answer. Instead, I forwarded him one more document. The purchase agreement from 14 months ago, when my investment firm acquired First National Bank. The same bank Marcus had been using for years. The same bank he had walked into hundreds of times, never once knowing who really owned it. Then I emailed the senior loan officer, copying Marcus. Standard late payment protocol. Formal default process. 72 hours to bring all accounts current, including penalties. The calls kept coming. Marcus. Jennifer. Dad. Dad again. I silenced my phone, made myself another cup of tea, and waited. At 12:30 in the morning, I answered. What the hell is this? Marcus was shouting before I even said hello. You own the bank? That's impossible. You're a consultant. You live in a tiny apartment. I am a consultant, I said, keeping my voice completely calm. I consult for Fortune 500 companies on acquisition strategy. My firm handles portfolio management for several high-net-worth clients. We purchased First National 14 months ago as part of a larger investment strategy. This is insane. You can't do this to family. Do what, Marcus? Enforce standard banking policies? You're late on your payment. By 3 days. There's always been a grace period. There was. It ended tonight. The new ownership implemented stricter protocols last quarter. You would have known this if you'd read the notices we sent. Or if you'd ever bothered to ask me about my actual career instead of calling it that consulting thing. Jennifer's voice shrieked in the background. Something about social media. About ruining my reputation. I took a sip of tea. Marcus, I said quietly, you are currently in default on $340,000 in business loans. Your shops are leveraged at 92%. If I call those loans, you will lose everything. All 3 shops. In about 6 weeks. I suggest you focus on making your payment. You wouldn't do that. We're family. Family, I repeated. Is that what you told Daniel today? When you said burgers were only for kids with a future. When you humiliated a 7-year-old child at a family barbecue. Silence. Here's what's going to happen. You have 72 hours to make your payment plus late fees. That's $12,800. After that, we proceed with standard default protocols. I don't have that kind of cash right now. Everything's tied up in inventory. Then you should have made your payment on time. Please. And there it was. Something I had genuinely never heard from Marcus before. Fear. Raw, real fear, wrapped up in a single word. Can't you just extend the grace period? For family. The same family that mocked my son today? The same family that spent 5 years reminding me that you guaranteed my loan. I paused. Speaking of which, I paid that loan off 4 years ago. But you enjoyed holding it over my head too much, so I never mentioned it. Then my dad's voice came through. Marcus had put it on speaker. Sweetheart, be reasonable. Marcus made a mistake today. Will he, Dad? Because you stood right there when he refused to feed your grandson. And you said nothing. My mom's voice followed, tearful. We didn't know it would hurt Daniel's feelings. You're being vindictive. I'm being a banker. If Marcus were any other client, he would already be in formal default. I'm giving him 72 hours as a courtesy. Uncle Robert's voice joined in. Something about lawyers. About extortion. Excellent, I said. Have them review the loan documents. They'll confirm that everything I'm doing is completely legal and standard banking practice. In fact, Marcus has received preferential treatment for the past 14 months because I instructed the loan department not to flag his account. That courtesy ends now. I hung up, blocked their numbers for the night. I needed sleep. The next morning, I woke up to 73 missed calls and 42 text messages. I made Daniel pancakes. His favorite. Are you okay, Mom? He asked, studying my face the way kids do when they sense something has shifted in the world around them. I'm perfect, honey. Eat your breakfast. At 9 o'clock, a call came in from a number I didn't recognize. Marcus's attorney. Lots of legal language. Conflict of interest. Family relationship. The usual. My client is a borrower, I said. I'm the bank owner. There is no conflict. He has 68 hours, Mr. Park. At 10, the bank's senior loan officer called. Several calls had come in from Marcus's attorney. How did I want to proceed? Standard protocol, I said. No exceptions. There was a brief pause. Understood. Also, Miss Thompson, we received his payment this morning. $12,800. Wire transfer at 9:45. I smiled. Marcus had found the money. Probably sold something. Maybe borrowed it from my dad. It didn't matter. He had paid. And he had done it in under 12 hours. Please confirm receipt, update his account status, and from this point forward, Marcus Thompson receives. 3 days later, a formal letter arrived by certified mail. An apology from Marcus to Daniel. Carefully worded. Almost certainly written with his attorney's guidance. It wasn't warm. It wasn't personal. But it existed, and it was signed, and that was something. 2 weeks after that, we all gathered for my mother's birthday dinner. And the family was different. Quieter. Smaller somehow, even with everyone there. Marcus and Jennifer arrived late and left early. Nobody made comments about my apartment. Nobody asked when I was going to get serious about my career. Nobody said a single word about Daniel's future. And when Daniel asked Uncle Marcus if he could have a piece of birthday cake, Marcus said yes immediately. And he cut him an extra-large slice. Small victories. That night, as I tucked Daniel in, he looked up at me with those tired, happy eyes and said, Uncle Marcus was nicer today. Yes, he was. Did you talk to him? In a way. He smiled and yawned. Good. I like it better when people are nice. I kissed his forehead, turned off the light, and walked quietly to my home office. Later, sitting at my desk reviewing the bank's quarterly reports, I thought about all of it. First National was performing above projections. The acquisition had been one of the best decisions I had ever made. Not because of what happened at that barbecue. Not because of Marcus. But because it was a solid investment, built carefully over years, that would help secure a real future for my son. The future my family had laughed at over a backyard grill. The future I had been building in silence while they assumed I was failing. My phone buzzed. An email from Trevor, my cousin who had walked away from the grill that day without saying a word. He had always been the quiet one. I heard what happened. Good for you. Marcus needed that lesson. Also, my company is looking for a financial consultant for an acquisition we're planning. Any chance you're taking new clients? I smiled and typed back. Send me the details. I'd be happy to review them. I set the phone down and looked around my small, quiet apartment. Nothing impressive. Nothing that would turn heads at a family gathering. But mine. Completely, entirely mine. Here is what I know now after all of it. The people who underestimate you the loudest are usually the ones paying the least attention. They see the apartment. They see the old car. They see the paper plate at a barbecue. They don't see the midnight calls. The boardroom negotiations. The documents building quietly in the background. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room says the least. Not out of weakness, but because they're waiting. Watching. Building something the room can't even imagine yet. And sometimes, it takes a hungry 7-year-old boy being denied a burger by his own uncle to make it absolutely, undeniably necessary to finally let people see exactly who you are. Daniel will never be told again that he doesn't have a future. Because I have been building that future for him. One acquisition at a time. One investment at a time. While they were too busy judging to notice.